Hey guys, welcome back to RAC, where we talk all things audio production and sound. Hi, I'm Dariana Everett. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, and RAC graduate. The low end of a mix is often what gives a track its power and punch, but nailing it can feel like trying to capture a mystical fairy. Almost impossible. For music producers, getting the low end right is crucial, not just for the feel of the track, but for the overall sound quality. Here we are diving into some helpful tips to help you manage your mix's low end. Let's get into it. To better understand all of this, I think it's important that we clarify something about sound waves. We dove into this at the beginning of our channel, but here is a quick review. Again, stick with it. I think it's super helpful. Frequency is measured in hertz, which equates to cycles per second. We have these peaks and valleys, where the height is the measure of amplitude or volume. When you have a low frequency, it actually has a very long cycle per second, and this translates in real life. Just like when you have a high frequency, it has a very fast cycle per second, and this also translates in real life. Going back to the low frequency, going to a concert, you feel the bass go through you. That's because it is. Bass traps are huge because it takes a lot of energy to absorb low frequencies, just like it takes a lot of energy to produce low frequencies. Because speaker woofers oscillate back and forth, when you blast them with low-end information, they aren't able to reproduce all of the details in the rest of the mix. If you want a video that explains how speakers work, let me know and I'll do one for you guys. But going back, so low frequency in terms of energy can easily eat up your whole headroom and mix if you aren't careful. So let's dive into our tips. Finding the balance in terms of dBs. Achieving the perfect dB levels in regards to your kick and your bass is the foundation of a great low end. A starting point is to make sure that your kick doesn't peak any higher than -8 to -10 dB. You want your bass sitting between 2 and 6 dB lower, depending on your mix and everything else going on. But in general, the rule of thumb, your kick can be a bit louder than your bass. So let's say if your kick is between -8 to -10 dB, you'd want your bass sitting between -10 and -12, or -12 and -14, to make sure that they are both audible and they both don't eat up your entire mix. This ensures that you have enough headroom to do your mix and master. In general, I tend to do everything a little bit quieter and then boost it and be able to bring it in more rather than feeling like everything's getting squashed. But that's just how I roll. Okay, number 2, sidechaining. I've done a whole video on sidechaining, so if that's interesting, I'll link it down below in the description. The secret sauce to a clean mix where the bass and kick aren't fighting each other is sidechaining. By applying sidechain compression to your bass, triggered by your kick, you can create a pumping effect that allows the kick to cut through every time it hits. This ensures that you have punch and clarity. Honestly, these days, Soothe 2 is my favorite tool for this sidechain ducking effect because it's super fast and super precise when it comes to frequencies, and it's super reactive. So highly recommend if you haven't tried it. Soothe 2 is great for having a very clean and effective sidechain. So molting your bass. To really refine your mix, split your bass track into 2 separate channels. One for the low end, 300 hertz and below, and one for above 330 hertz, roughly. This allows you to tailor them differently, allowing you to use different compressors, EQs, and any sort of treatment you want to add, because they are actually different and react very differently. Keeping your low bass in mono, ensuring it really punches clearly through the mix. And feel free to play with the stereo field on the higher bass frequencies to add width and presence. This technique not only cleans up your mix, but allows you to play around and have a more full and dynamic bass sound. Number 4, Highpass is your friend. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that all of your other instrumentation is high-passed or maybe even side-chained, so that they don't fill up the low end unnecessarily. Obviously, use your ears, don't make anything sound bad, but a lot of the time you will have, like in an effects chain, just a lot of low end buildup. Reverbs are notorious for low end buildup. Saturation is your friend, and length is your friend. So while I was in London at Abbey Roads, Jason Joshua did a demo that was so simple but so effective, and I'm going to try to reproduce it for you guys. But he showed us ways to kind of fake loudness without actually adding any volume. And this is important because you do want to have your low end punch, but sometimes you're just not sure how to do that other than just like pushing up the fader and adding a few dB. One of the ways you can do that is your length. So I'm going to show you with a kick where I've reduced the tail end and cut that a bit, and the actual full length of the kick, and you can see how one actually feels a bit louder, and it's just because we can perceive it longer. And this doesn't just translate from kicks. You can do it with a bass note, you can do even with your voice. Something that is a bit longer, you hear it more, and so it feels louder. And this is great for if you want to add variety, if you want to maybe emphasize a downbeat or the hit of the chorus. It's a great way to not add volume, but then also add emphasis on your low end. Check it out. Tip number 2 is saturation. So what saturation does is it boosts the harmonics in a sound, and this allows it to be perceived better, especially in smaller systems. I've done a bunch of videos where I talk about saturation and cool saturation plugins, so you should check those out. I'll link them down below in the description. However, today's little demo, because I'm going to show you a little demo in a second, but in this demo, I'm just using the RC20 because it's a simple plugin with great presets, and it shows you can add a whole bunch of different colors. There's so many different saturation plugins. You can even add some sort of downsampling as another option to create some fun artifacts and color. It's all about adding some sort of harmonic distortion to it so it's perceived a little bit better. Lots of fun presets that then you can jump on and tailor to your mix. Let's take a listen. By meticulously applying these techniques, music producers can kind of fix their mixes in the low end from being muddy and unfocused to being clear, powerful, and professional. Remember, the key to a great mix is not just the techniques you use, but actually your ears. So tune them, practice, listen to different frequency bands in your headphones, in your systems. What does 20 hertz sound like? What does 30 hertz sound like? What does 50 hertz sound like? What does anything in the low end? Listen to that in your system. Become habituated at your listening devices, your tools, and also your ears, because all of our ears hear a bit differently. So you got to be able to use your reference tracks, use all of that, because they're all tools that help you do better mixes. Trust them, experiment. Don't be afraid to break the rules once you know them. You're gonna get the perfect low end. Remember, low end is hard to nail. A lot of home studios don't have subs, and when you don't have a sub, you can easily feel like you're mixing blind. Try these tips, and I hope it helps with you becoming more familiar with your system and how to manage your low end. That's it for this video. If you like this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. We come out with new content every week. If you have any video requests, please write them down below. I am coming up with a few different series, but I want to make sure I'm listening to you guys. So do write them down below. What do you want to watch? And I will see you in the next one. Bye.